Hello everybody and welcome. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the pressing trap instruction in Football Manager. And let's get started with an overview. In a recent video, we were checking out the defensive shape team instruction and how that affects where our players line up when out of possession and how they engage the opponent. Well, the instruction we're looking at today is the pressing trap team instruction. And this also affects your defenders as it's an out of possession instruction. The pressing trap deals with where you want to win the ball back. Trapping outside means your team will look to protect the middle of the field, forcing the opponent to go wide. Trapping inside means your team will look to protect the flanks, forcing the opponent to go centrally. To think about how the pressing trap works, we need to think about the wording of the instruction. It's an action where you are allowing the opponent into a certain area of the field, but then pressing them to try and win the ball back. You are telling your defenders to bait the opponent where you want. The pressing trap instruction does not just mean you are telling your team to play wider or more narrow. It means you are telling your team to adjust their positioning and angles of defending. Like everything in Football Manager, this instruction has benefits and drawbacks. Forcing them inside is a great area to start a counterattack, since the midfield is a more dangerous area of the field, and you have more options. However, forcing the opponent inside also gives them those same advantages. Forcing them outside is usually an easier area to win the ball back, since there's less options for them to pass to. However, the same is true if you do win the ball back, since you would most likely also have limited options to pass to. Now that information we went over is either what the game tells us, what the Football Manager manual tells us, or what the FM developers have said about the instruction. But you may have noticed that it's tricky to find out exactly what the instruction does. So in the next section, we're going to talk about my interpretation of the instruction and check out some in-game examples. Let's start by looking at some examples with a generic standard 4-4-2 to get a baseline. The first clip we're looking at is our team defending in a 4-4-2. We're the team in black, and these are our 4 defenders, our 4 midfielders, and then 2 strikers. The opponent is on the ball in the midfield. We're going to focus first on our fullbacks. When you add in the wingers, we get this type of positioning in relation to each other. Now let's look at this fullback. As the ball gets forward onto his side of the field, watch close at his positioning. He doesn't venture too far and instead retreats backwards in a relatively straight line. Again, that was the generic 4-4-2 with no instructions. Let's add in the trap inside and see how it affects our shape. Here's a different clip with the ball basically in the same spot as the other one. Now, my fullbacks and wingers have adjusted their defensive position, with the winger sitting more tucked in and the fullbacks wider. In particular, look at the fullback at the top and how wide he is. What the trap inside instruction is doing is trying to bait the opponent to attack the open spaces in our defense as they move the ball up the field. When the player on the ball pushes up, watch the 2 fullbacks. They are going to move quickly and tuck in to sit right next to the center backs. Now the ball carrier is a little further forward, but with our fullbacks now taking away that space, we can trap the ball with all of our players. Here's the clip again at full speed. Here's another example with a trap inside instruction. The ball is on the other side of the halfway line. For my defenders, the winger and fullback have that same positioning again. They are trying to restrict the pass from going here. When the opponent is trying to take it out wide, my player will close down the ball and force it back centrally. Now, they've got it back to the midfield and the trap has worked. Their winger has entered the space we've created for them. we've made it appear to the opponent that this player is free, and all they have to do is get it to him. And that's exactly what they're going to try and do. The pass is going to go into the midfield, and as it does, the fullback springs the trap and closes down the passing angle. The goal of the trap outside instruction is to encourage the opponent to pass it to the flanks and wider areas. Let's select the trap outside instruction and see how it affects the team. The opponent has a goal kick and we're in blue, still using the same 4-4-2 but with the added instruction. Our winger closes down the ball and tries to force it into the midfield. However, this is not the outside trap quite yet. The ball goes into the center and our left midfielder is sitting tucked in, shutting off passing lanes into the center. We want it to go here. This is our outside trap. Because it may not seem like it, but right now, the winger and fullback are working in tandem. The pass is going to go out to this player on the wing. When it does, my two players close down the ball and win it back. In this example, we'll see how the trap affects pressing angles. The opponent is on the ball, now attacking to the left. We're going to watch my player here. When the ball goes to his side, you'll see him close down the opponent, but he's going to do it in an angle that forces the opponent to the sideline. When he does, my winger and fullback will be waiting to close down the ball and force it backwards. In this section, we'll talk about some application ideas for this instruction. At first, I was trying to think about the best way to utilize it, but in reality, I think it's like everything in Football Manager. It can be properly used in multiple situations, as long as you have a plan. Let's say you're playing an opponent that uses a 4-3-3. They like to overload the midfield with players and get it to their central playmaker. The trap inside could allow them into those center areas, which is what they want to do. But maybe you put two of your best ball-winning midfielders in the center to get it back. Or maybe you use trap outside to try to force them into the wider areas, a place they don't want to go and have less players. The final point is, as far as I can tell, there is no hit to your tactical familiarity when using the instruction. So feel free to add the instruction during a match to see if you can take advantage of the opponent. As we wrap up the video, if you're curious about any player roles or tactical ideas, I've got different playlists here on the channel that go over a bunch of different topics and player roles. I've also got a Patreon account if you'd like to support the channel. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.